as we also talk about this entrepreneurship in VC space, how did you choose to fund companies?
Like which ones stood out? Is that what you mean?
Was it Shark Tank like, just behind the scenes?
I mean, there's a little bit of that. I think that's a very, like condensed, fictionalized, or I shouldn't say fictionalized, but semi-scripted. Like they've got a process. But I think those folks are real investors, and they focus on the same things that every investor focuses on. And so for me, the number one thing is the team, the founding team. How involved are they? How long have they been working together? That says a lot. And do I think this is a team that can execute on their vision? And so that was always the number one thing. Do I believe in the team? And then, how big is the market? Like, how big is this opportunity really? How difficult is it? Like, what are the barriers to entry into that market? And how well positioned do I think this company is to attack those things? And then I think the last thing for me, because I was investing mostly in climate, although I'd made some investments in like software, digital media. In software and digital media, you can do a lot with very little capital. And that's kind of been proven by the Silicon Valley software VC model. For hard tech and for things in climate, like what we do, some of the steps are quite capital intensive. So that was also always on my mind, is how much more money is this company going to need before it can really go big? And, that sometimes was a yes or no decision point, but sometimes that was, okay, so how much do we as investors need to own of this company in order for it, $100 million of capital later for us to still have an ownership stake that's meaningful. So those are for the most part, the key criteria, and lots of nuance all around the world. But
did you have a spreadsheet like, here's the algorithm?
No.
And you said, hey, check. See, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I don't think there is, right? Is it, how much is gut instinct? How much of it is, right?
Yeah. I think it's so much. I mean, especially at an early stage, right? Because in early stage, it's do you believe? It's so much indexing on the team, and do you believe in the opportunity? Because there isn't, when you get a little further along and companies have product in market, then yeah, absolutely, you can have a spreadsheet and how much revenue are they generating per employee? What are their margins? Kind of all kinds of metrics to evaluate the business. But when you're early, it's a lot of belief. A lot of instinct.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering from your space. How much of the adjectives and characteristics matter? How committed is someone? What level of persistence do they have? Are they all in? Like these things that I just find. Like I recently watched, not to sit here and say who we should look up to as leaders and who we think are the people that are our heroes in life, but I watched a documentary recently, of course on Netflix, about Arnold Schwarzenegger. And there's a lot more to him than I knew. And you see what he did with his life. Again, not pointing out the flaws and the failures, but like the massive accomplishments he had. Like that guy dominated 3 separate, totally different spaces. That maybe you could give him the first one that say, well, he was meant to do it. You know how when you've succeeded in life, you're like, well, they were meant to do that. Well, it's like, guys, hold on. Maybe they had natural talents and instincts, but the second and third thing that he dominated in his life, those weren't natural instincts. He had to learn how to be a politician. He had to learn how to be an action hero. So that's what I'm wondering, what you found in your space. And then how right were you? How often about people? How right were you? How often did you get it right and wrong in the VC world?
That's a good question. I would like to think that about people, I got it right most of the time. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, every company that I invested in has been a success. Certainly not. And I think, super talented entrepreneurs don't always have a win, for factors, some that are in their control and not in their control. So, setting that part aside, I think I've been a relatively good judge of the people. And you mentioned some of the adjectives that are important, like commitment, persistence. How all in are they? are they too all in? Because I think too all in can be a thing as well.
Can be detrimental.
It can be detrimental.
Yeah.
Because I think when you're too all in, you know, sometimes you're blind to new information coming in, and it makes it challenging to pivot your position or to pivot your strategy. So I like to see that too. I like to see people who, when new data comes in, they rethink instead of being, you know, blinders on, laser focused on what they said they would do.